Terraria bows. I've used these bows countless of times, more than I can remember, and I can say that they lack in comparison to other weapons like swords or magic weapons when it comes to visuals and damage. So I installed a mod that completely reworked most if not all of bows. In addition, these bows have the ability to level up the more I attack monsters, increasing their damage, critical strike chance, size, and best of all, additional projectiles. Just how will these reworked bows look like, and how strong will they become by the end? Let's start at the beginning. So I begin things by chopping down some trees for wood. Once I had around 100 pieces of wood, I crafted a workbench and then made my first bow, the wooden bow. But without any ammunition, I couldn't kill any monsters just yet. So I decided to explore a nearby cave to find some arrows inside pots and chests. As I went inside the cave, I realized that I didn't have any torches, so it was completely dark, and I was pretty far in. Without any recall potions, getting back out wasn't an option. However, I noticed a shining Shiverthorn, which was my saving grace. I mined towards it, and when I got there, I broke some pots containing torches. This meant I could continue my exploration. A few moments passed and I finally found some arrows. So the wooden bow has 6 damage, but it is now able to do a charged attack. This special ability applies to most bows that you will see throughout the video. The charged attacks dealt more damage that also has increased speed and velocity. I went to the left side of the world, found the desert, and chopped down some cacti to craft the cactus bow. This had just 1 more range damage compared to the wooden bow, but hey, an upgrade is an upgrade. I didn't have any arrows left, so I couldn't test out the charged attack, so I broke into the pyramid that I found, hoping to get the sandstorm in a bottle, but ended up with the flying carpet, which I didn't mind. I found my first life crystal nearby, and from the pots I smashed earlier, I had some more arrows, so I tested out the cactus bow and there was nothing really special about it. It was exactly the same as the wooden bow. I mined some stone and made my own arrows because I realized that finding arrows inside pots and chests was going to be too inefficient. I then made my way into the jungle, finding more accessories like the Band of Regeneration and life crystals. Now it was time to craft a much stronger bow. It required some vines and jungle spores to make the grass bow that had 23 damage. A lot more compared to the other 2 bows. I killed a bunch of man-eaters for the vines and noticed that my cactus bow was about to level up. I killed 1 more man-eater and so my bow gained 2 damage and 1% critical strike chance. After collecting enough vines and jungle spores, I continued mining ores and life crystals until I reached max health. Returning back home, I built a small house and then crafted the emerald hook, a platinum pickaxe, and finally the grass bow. Shooting the charged attacks generated shotgun-like leaf projectiles, while normal attacks shot out a wooden arrow along with a single leaf projectile. I also made a combination of tungsten and platinum armor for some defense and built some NPC houses. Afterwards, I went to the Crimson biome, built an arena, and broke 3 Crimson Hearts to summon the Brain of Cthulhu. During the fight, I thought the leaf projectiles would pierce through multiple enemies, but it wasn't able to, so it took a while to kill all the creepers, and while fighting the boss, there was an evil presence watching me, which meant the Eye of Cthulhu was about to spawn. So after defeating the Brain of Cthulhu, I teleported back home, built a platform, and then fought against the boss. I saw that my bow became much stronger than it was before. It was shooting many more projectiles, especially performing the charged up attack. Doing this shot an unbelievable amount of leaves. Even I was surprised, so this fight didn't take long at all. Now having some Crimtane bars and tissue samples, I made the Deathbringer pickaxe and the Tendon bow. This had 35 damage, and shooting with this bow produced a mixture of wooden and vampiric arrows, while the charged attack shoots a powered up vampiric arrow that travels faster and can also lifesteal. I checked out the grass bow and it was now at level 4 with 31 range damage and 8% critical strike chance. The arrows were way bigger and the charged attack shot like 20 projectiles, which was insane. I was going to defeat the Brain of Cthulhu one more time to make sure I had enough materials to craft the full set of Crimson armor, but a Goblin Army was approaching, so I figured I'd take care of them first. During the army, one of them dropped the Goblin Bow. This had 40 damage, and the charged up attacks wasn't anything special, but did over 100 damage. That's a lot! After defeating the Goblin Army, I killed the Brain of Cthulhu and then crafted the armor. Now, it was time to take on Skeletron, so I built an arena at the dungeon, waited until night, and then talked to the old man to summon the boss. And for this fight, well, after getting rid of its hands, the boss died pretty quickly. After defeating Skeletron, I went into the dungeon, opened up a chest and found the Ancient Bow, Cobalt Shield, and Shadow Key. Everything I wanted, I got in a single chest. For the Ancient Bow, it had 25 damage and was able to do some pretty cool attacks. Normal attacks shoots wooden arrows along with a barrage of magic missiles, and the charged up attack shot 3 fast moving lasers. I also checked my grass bow again, and this thing has become an absolute beast. I mean, just look at it. It was now at level 8 with 42 damage and 12% critical strike chance. It was almost time to summon the Wall of Flesh, so I began mining down to Hell. After reaching Hell, I mined some Hellstone, crafted the Molten Pickaxe and the Molten Fury. This bow had 65 range damage that can shoot out Hellfire arrows and a triple projectile spread as well. But it did kind of suck that I couldn't use it for very long after crafting it, because now that I had all 4 bows, I crafted the Knight's Bow. It only had 24 damage and only shot wooden arrows, but that's because it was still daytime, which weakened the bow. I found the Goblin Tinkerer underground and bought rocket boots, the workshop, and reforged the Knight's Bow to Godly. Before I took on the Wall of Flesh, I wanted to level up the bow a bit, so I summoned the King Slime. After defeating the King Slime, my bow leveled up. It was then night, so I summoned the Eye of Cthulhu next. It was also a good time to check out the powers of this bow. It started glowing, which meant it was powered up, and shooting with this bow shot out 2 to 3 additional shadow arrows, while the charge up attacks shot them at high speeds. It was finally time to take on the Wall of Flesh, so I went all the way to the right side of the world, threw in the Voodoo Doll to summon the boss. After defeating the boss, I was officially now in hard mode, so I went back to the Crimson to break some Crimson altars to spawn in the hard mode ores. After mining the ores and collecting enough adamantite, I made the full adamantite armor and the adamantite bow. The regular attacks shot 3 arrows that each have their own velocity, and the charged attacks are basically the same except they have more speed. I then drank a gravitation potion and found Sky Islands for some more accessories like the shiny red balloon and lucky horseshoe. While I was up on the Sky Island, I figured I'd kill some wyverns for souls of flight to be able to craft a pair of wings. So once I farmed enough souls of flight, I went into the hollowed biome and found the wizard. I bought the crystal ball and turned 3,996 wooden arrows into the endless quiver. now I won't have to worry about ammo anymore. I also killed a hollowed mimic that dropped the Daedalus Stormbow. This bow didn't have a special attack, but instead of wooden arrows falling down, they are now arrows that can pass through blocks. Once I had enough souls of light, I went back up to craft angel wings. I was now ready to take on the mechanical bosses, but it wasn't quite the right time, so I leveled up my Daedalus Stormbow as much as I could until it was night. I leveled it up to level 3 and then summoned the first mechanical boss, the Twins. I chose to use the adamantite bow for this fight because it was a lot easier to land all of my arrows on the boss using this weapon, which meant more damage, especially with the charge ups. I was dealing over 5,000 damage per second. Now came the Destroyer, and the perfect weapon for this was the Daedalus Stormbow. The many projectiles falling down covered a huge portion of the boss, so I ended up dealing on average 13,000 damage. With the defeat of the Destroyer, my Daedalus Stormbow became level 7 with 141 damage and 37% critical strike chance. Lastly, Skeletron Prime. And using my improved Stormbow, this boss died within seconds. Now that I had some hollowed bars, I crafted the Holy Bow. So it's basically the same as the Knight's Bow. Because it was night, this bow was weakened, only being able to shoot wooden arrows for normal attacks, and the charge attacks only able to generate a few holy arrows. I made the pickaxe axe along with the hollowed armor, and with all 3 souls from the mechanical bosses, I turned my knight's bow into the true knight's bow. This bow was able to shoot both green and purple arrows that home into enemies, with the charged attacks having increased speed. It turned into day, so I tested out the holy bow on King Slime, and it was now able to shoot many more holy arrows. I then went into the jungle to look for the Plantera bulb and mined some chlorophytes. While doing that, I found myself the cloud in a bottle, so I used that to make the blue horseshoe balloon. I went back finding the Plantera bulb, so I cleared out an area for the arena. As I was doing that, I found myself the Marrow bow. There wasn't anything special about this bow other than it dealing over 1,000 damage for the charged attack. After I was done, I mined some chlorophyte to craft the chlorophyte bow that had 80 damage and has the ability to track enemies. For the charge up, everything looked the same except one arrow that did a lot more damage than the rest. For my holy bow, I used Souls of Light and Night along with 24 chlorophyte bars to create the true holy bow. Shooting this bow during day made the arrows move in a wavy motion. Same with the charge up, but instead the arrows fall from the sky. I went back into the jungle and broke the Plantera bulb to summon the boss, using both the chlorophyte bow and true holy bow for the fight. Afterwards, I used the key I got from Plantera to enter the temple to take on Golem, and from the fight against Plantera, my bows leveled up pretty nicely. After defeating Golem, I made a solar tablet to summon the solar eclipse. I needed to kill Mothrons to obtain the Hero Broken Bow. After killing Mothrons for the Hero Broken Bow, I combined the True Knight's Bow and True Holy Bow to craft the Terra Bow. This had 121 damage and had homing arrows. It also gained attack speed, and at max speed, it summons additional arrows into the air that attacks nearby enemies. Before I took on the lunatic cultist, I went to the mushroom biome and collected truffle worms to summon Duke Fishron. The Terra Bow absolutely shredded this boss down in seconds, dealing a consistent 10,000 damage per second. The first treasure bag, I got Duke Fishron wings, and killing Duke Fishron the second time got me the Tsunami Bow. Regular attacks are the same as the original version, just slightly more compact, but the charged attack was crazy. I could summon water tornadoes. I went to the dungeon and summoned the lunatic cultist, using the tsunami to level it up. Once the lunatic cultist was defeated, I destroyed the vortex pillar first, using the fragments to craft the Phantasm. Equipping this bow spawned 2 clones of Phantasm that circled around me, and once I attacked, they shot magic arrows that locked onto enemies. I then went on to destroy the Solar Pillar, Stardust Pillar, and finally the Nebula Pillar. After all that, both my Phantasm and Tsunami reached a level where things just got ridiculous. The amount of projectiles and tornadoes that spawned was mind-blowing. The final boss Moonlord spawned, and here's what happened. Alright, that's all for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you guys want to try this mod out for yourselves, I'll leave all the mods I've used in the description below. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, comment down below if you have any other mod or video ideas you want me to try out, and of course subscribe to the channel. I'll see you all next time. Peace.